Vanity Fair has turned on them, Piers. Vanity Fair with a hit piece on her in particular, writing all about how she's a diva, which some of us have known and have been talking about, and how people can't handle working for her. How, okay, I want to get the quote. Let's see. Stand by. Okay. Two sources say a colleague with ties to Archetypes, her podcast, took a leave of absence after working on 3 episodes, then left Gimlet, the podcast producer, altogether. Several others described taking extended breaks from work to escape scrutiny, meaning from her, exiting their job or undergoing long-term therapy after working with Meghan. The person who interacted professionally with her says, I think if Meghan acknowledged her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations, rather than staying trapped in a victim narrative, her perception might be better. And going on to say the prince and the starlet, according to Vanity Fair, have become local villains in Montecito. Quoting someone as saying, they are the most entitled, disingenuous people on the planet. They moved from England to get away from the scrutiny of the press, supposedly, and all they do is try to get in the press in
The significance of this discussion goes beyond one celebrity profile. Vanity Fair has historically been viewed as a publication that often celebrates Hollywood influence and elite cultural figures. When a magazine with that reputation publishes a deeply critical feature, it naturally attracts attention because it suggests a noticeable shift in how influential media circles are evaluating a public figure. Whether every allegation proves accurate is ultimately a matter for those directly involved. But what's notable is that criticism is no longer coming only from traditional royal commentators. It's now appearing across different parts of the media landscape, indicating that the conversation around Harry and Meghan has expanded far beyond the royal beat
in the United States. So what does all this tell us?
What it tells us is, rather comically, that when you have this couple who, remember on their website, it says that they're all about compassion. They're compassionate people. They're also all about mental health and helping people with mental health. They've been very vocal about that recently, about the perils of online trolling and the effect it has on people's mental health. And yet here we are with Vanity Fair, the Hollywood Bible, the thing that Meghan was most thrilled about getting the cover of a few years ago when she got engaged to Harry, which went down very badly with the palace at the time, I can tell you. But now it reveals that actually she in particular is a nasty little bully who sends staff into therapy. Think about that for a moment. This also follows all the stories about her bullying staff over here in the UK. Which is unresolved. NDAs stopped all that stuff coming out, but she bullied people in a very unpleasant way over here. So it's no surprise to people who work at Buckingham Palace. They saw and witnessed all this here. So I just showed, look, they're a pair of hypocrites, they're a pair of chancers, as the Spotify guy called them, a pair of effing grifters. And they're desperately trying to maintain some kind of future as a renegade royal couple when they're no longer part of the royal family. The royals don't talk to them. The king does not talk to his own son. None of the senior royals talk to these two. They are total pariahs in the family because the only currency they have is trashing the royal family and the monarchy. And every time they try and do something else, nobody cares. No one cared about their podcast series. Nobody cared about the polo series recently. Nobody cares about any of it. All they want to hear is the dirt. And these two, for 5 years, have reveled and wallowed in royal dirt for vast amounts of money. And that's what makes Prince Harry's ongoing campaign against the UK newspapers, which had another flare-up this week, so laughably hypocritical, because he talks about intrusion into royal privacy. And yet, if you ask any senior member of the royal family, who has invaded your privacy the worst, it's Prince Harry. It's the guy who gave the inside track for money to Oprah, to Netflix, to his publishers, to anyone who would pay top dollar. This guy invaded the privacy of his family. And yet he has the gall to present himself as some great standard bearer of ethics and decency when it comes to royal privacy. Do me a favor.
The issue of privacy also highlights one of the most debated aspects of modern celebrity culture. Many public figures understandably want protection from intrusive reporting while still maintaining a public profile to promote their work. The challenge is finding a balance. Audiences often distinguish between protecting genuinely private family matters and voluntarily sharing intimate personal stories through interviews, documentaries, memoirs, or commercial partnerships. Once personal experiences become part of a public brand, critics inevitably question where the line between privacy and publicity should be drawn. That broader debate extends well beyond Harry and Meghan and reflects the changing relationship between celebrities, media, and audiences in the digital age.
Right. Sooner or later, everybody turns on them. It seems like just all they need is exposure. All they need is time. She's bullied almost all of her staff out of the job. They all wind up leaking to the press what a horrid nightmare she was to work with. And the other piece in the Vanity Fair article, which was amazing, was about him and how neither one of them showed up with any ideas on what to do. Like, actually, how are we going to earn all this money? And that one of the ideas for the podcast that he had was that he would get people like Vladimir Putin and Mark Zuckerberg to sit with him. But it wasn't because he said everybody's got damage in their childhood. And I had damage in my childhood too. So you're thinking, okay, all right, I guess he's going to use that to bond with them. No, the conclusion was that their experiences had made them into sociopaths, according to Harry. And he wanted to explore how they became sociopaths, but he remained totally normal and was not, quote, one of these bad guys. And Vanity Fair pointing out, trying to get a season's worth of world-famous sociopaths to talk about how they developed sociopathy would be what is referred to in access journalism as a booking challenge.
I mean, they're just so completely deluded. That's the thing that always strikes me. It's utter delusion. And they're also just shocking hypocrites. So do you remember when they were lecturing us all about carbon footprint and climate change? And then they were using Elton John and George Clooney's private planes like taxi services. They actually, on the day of her $500,000 baby shower in New York, attended by all the great and good ladies of New York, that was the same day that from their then Twitter account, they lectured the British people about poverty. I mean, you couldn't make it up. And now what's happened, I mean, what's most laughable of all, in a sort of horrible way, is that she's got this new series where she's trying to be the new Martha Stewart, where she's going to be cooking in her fancy mansion for all her fancy friends. Very fancy food. Can you imagine a less appropriate thing in California right now than this fake princess, this duchess trading off the title she got given by an institution she's tried to ruin, actually prancing about in this kitchen in a multi-million-dollar mansion with her famous friends in California when 12 to 14,000 people have just lost their homes in the most horrendous fires that the city's ever had in Los Angeles and that the state's ever seen. It is so unbelievably inappropriate that series could go ahead, but I bet it does.
Yeah, they're saying it's actually going to pick up in March now as opposed to the January launch date.
Regardless of where viewers stand on Harry and Meghan, one thing seems increasingly clear. Their story has entered a new phase. The discussion is becoming less about the dramatic exit from royal life and more about whether they can build a lasting legacy independent of it. The coming months may prove particularly important. Future projects, public appearances, and business ventures will likely determine whether this latest wave of criticism represents a temporary setback or a lasting shift in public perception. And that's what makes this story so compelling. It's still unfolding, and the next chapter could reshape the narrative once again. If you enjoy balanced analysis, deeper context, and the latest developments surrounding the royal family and the media that covers them, be sure to subscribe. There are many more stories behind the headlines, and we'll be here to break them down as they happen.